What happens when a nation decides its most valuable resource is no longer up for grabs? Well, in Burkina Faso, a military captain is finding that out right now. He's moved to take control of the country's gold mines and overhaul its export system, challenging a century of foreign exploitation. For decades, this landlocked West African nation has watched its immense mineral wealth flow overseas, leaving behind a painful paradox of poverty and conflict. But now, one man is trying to flip the script. In a bold play for economic freedom, Captain Ibrahim Traoré is tightening his grip on his country's gold. It's a high-stakes gamble that could liberate his nation or leave it isolated. This is the story of how Burkina Faso is fighting to reclaim its treasure. Burkina Faso is a place that doesn't quite make sense. It's one of Africa's biggest gold producers, pulling roughly 57 tons of the stuff out of the ground in 2023 alone. Gold is the lifeblood of its official economy, making up a massive 80% of the country's total exports and about 15% of its GDP. With gold prices soaring over 25% in 2025, the value buried under Burkina Faso soil has never been higher. And yet, for most people in Burkina Faso, this wealth has been a mirage. It's a story told in numbers that just don't add up. Billions of dollars in exported gold set against a nation battling deep poverty and instability. For decades, the logic was simple and brutal. Foreign multinational corporations would show up with the capital and technology, dig up the gold, and ship it raw to be refined in places like Switzerland and Dubai. Burkina Faso got a check for royalties, but the real money, the added value from refining, branding, and selling the final product was made thousands of miles away. This model, a direct hangover from the colonial era, ensured the country remained a supplier of raw materials, not a hub of wealth. The result? Corporations posted huge profits, while the communities around the mines were often left with environmental damage and social upheaval. That feeling of injustice has been simmering for generations, setting the stage for the radical changes happening today. So, who's the guy shaking everything up? That would be Captain Ibrahim Traoré. After taking power in a 2022 coup, Traoré has become part of a new wave of African leaders who are openly questioning the post-colonial economic order. His speeches are unapologetically pan-African and anti-imperialist, arguing that the nation's problems aren't a failure of its people, but a direct result of systemic foreign exploitation. He's been crystal clear about his goal, stating, "I don't understand why we allow multinationals to mine gold when we know how." And it wasn't just talk. His government quickly sent a signal that the old rules were off the table. For Traoré, reclaiming the country's mineral wealth isn't just an economic plan. It's a matter of national survival and sovereignty. Since 2015, Burkina Faso has been trapped in a brutal war against an Islamist insurgency that has displaced nearly 2 million people and wrecked its farming sector. In that context, gold money isn't just a number on a spreadsheet. It's the cash needed to fund the military and rebuild a broken country. Prime Minister Jean-Emmanuel Ouedraogo drove this home, saying the government had to rebuild an economy affected by security issues. Traoré's rise was the spark that turned decades of quiet resentment into a loud and clear policy of taking back control. His government doesn't see this as a radical gamble, but as a necessary and moral correction of a historical wrong. Let's pause for a moment. This story is unfolding in real time, and it's part of a much larger shift happening across the African continent. If you believe in the importance of these stories of economic sovereignty and want to support content that goes beyond the headlines, consider subscribing and joining our community. Your support makes these deep dives possible. Now, let's get back to the radical decrees that put the world on notice. The first move sent a shockwave. In February 2024, the government suspended all export permits for artisanal and semi-mechanized gold, the small-scale independent mines. The official reason was to clean up the sector, which was riddled with smuggling that not only cost the state revenue, but also allegedly helped finance terrorist groups. But that was just the appetizer. What came next was a methodical takedown of the old foreign-dominated system. In July 2024, the government passed a new mining code. It raised the state's minimum free carried stake in new mining projects from 10% to 15%. More importantly, it gave the state the option to buy up to an additional 30% interest, signaling it planned to be a major partner in its own resources. The government then set up a new state-owned company, Socamib, to be its muscle. Acting decisively, Socamib began moving on key assets. Following a stalled deal between foreign miners, the state stepped in. By June 2025, it had formalized the transfer of 5 major gold mining assets, including the operational Bomgo and Wagnion mines, into state ownership under Socamib. The message couldn't be clearer. Burkina Faso was no longer just a landlord collecting rent on its own territory. It was becoming the master of its own house. As Captain Traore put it, "We are going to do it ourselves." This campaign of resource nationalism predictably didn't go over well in international boardrooms. The moves created massive uncertainty for investors who were used to decades-long, stable contracts. The reaction was swift. London-listed Endeavour Mining, which had previously sold the Bongo and Wagnion mines, exited the country. In April 2025, Canadian miner Fortuna Silver Mines sold its Yaramoko mine for $130 million, citing declining reserves and the increasingly challenging business climate. These exits highlight the huge risks of Traore's strategy. By taking such aggressive control, Burkina Faso risks getting blacklisted by international markets, which could scare off the foreign investment it needs for future projects. The country has pivoted away from traditional Western allies and is building stronger ties with Russia for both security and economic help. In May 2025, the government granted a mining license to Russia's Nordgold for a new project expected to produce over 20 metric tons of gold. While this brings in a new partner, it also cements the country's break from the West, making it vulnerable to economic pressure or even informal sanctions. The International Monetary Fund has warned that these policies could hurt both imports and exports. This is the gamble. Can Burkina Faso build a new economic future on its own terms? Or will the global market isolate it and prove its critics right? Despite the risks, Traore's government is pushing forward with a clear vision to move beyond just digging stuff up and selling it. The end game isn't just to control the mines, but to capture the entire value chain of its most precious resource. The foundation of this plan is the construction of Burkina Faso's first ever industrial gold refinery, a project launched in late 2023 with a planned capacity of up to 150 tons of gold a year. This facility is a game changer. For the first time, raw Burkinabe gold could be refined into 99.99% pure bars on its own soil, though the refinery is not yet fully operational. This move alone would allow the nation to keep the enormous value it was losing to foreign refineries. But the plan doesn't stop there. The government is also bringing the massive artisanal mining sector, which employs over 1 million people, into the formal economy. A new state company tasked with buying gold from these small-scale miners has been a huge success, collecting over 13 tons in 2024 and reportedly 29 tons in the first half of 2025 alone. This brings previously untaxed wealth directly into the national budget. And in a crucial move, The government is creating the country's first ever national gold reserve. Instead of selling all its gold on the international market, Burkina Faso is now stockpiling some of it. This gives it a hard asset to back its currency, protect against inflation, and gain a level of financial independence that was once unthinkable. This is what Traore calls an economy of sovereignty. It's a vision where the nation's wealth is used to build its own future, funding everything from security to local development. The story of Captain Ibrahim Traoré and Burkina Faso's gold is more than just a headline about nationalization. It's a real-time experiment in economic liberation, a defiant shot at rewriting a century-old script of exploitation. The road ahead is dangerous. The risks of being cut off from the global economy, losing investors, and facing geopolitical blowback are very real. But for a nation that has watched its wealth get siphoned away for generations, the risk of doing nothing might be even greater. Traoré's government is betting that true sovereignty isn't given, it's taken. It's a high-stakes power play that could secure a new future for its people, or become a cautionary tale. The world is watching. Will this bold stand ignite a new era of resource nationalism across Africa? Or will the global economic order prove too powerful to challenge? The answer will be written in gold.